Hey judges, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to help us judge Opportunity Hack 2025 over the summer. This is our kind of third time doing this. We started during the pandemic when we realized there was a lot of internship offers being rescinded, and we wanted to give people an opportunity to showcase their talent and get a lot of experience over the summer when they didn't have an internship available to them. So we typically do this hackathon in October where we bring together nonprofits with hackers and we build out solutions over a weekend. And instead, this specific one is over the course of the entire summer. We're having students come in, mostly students come in and write code to solve problems for nonprofits. Now, you've probably already seen this page. If you scroll down, just to walk you through briefly, of the nonprofits are here. So Sequoia, Del Arte, Redwood, Heritage Square, and NMTSA. These are the nonprofits the students have been building projects against. And then if I scroll down here, you can kind of see all of the teams that are here. Now, we try to track GitHub commits for every team. Not every person has given us their GitHub username, so some of these people may or may not have been committing, but that's okay. Ideally, by the submission period, which is coming up this Saturday, every team will have a dev post project. Right now, every team does have a GitHub repository, and you can see their commits there. As you scroll down, you can see all the teams and all the people who've been working pretty much tirelessly on projects over the course of this year. And then you can see some of the teams that weren't able to make it, and these are marked as inactive. We won't be judging those teams. Finally, if you go down here, you'll see a leaderboard of, we're at 469 commits right now, 25 total GitHub contributors. It's pretty significant for a hackathon over a summer where people are donating their time to write code for other charities. This is done live, so we have 2 days left until we hit this submission deadline of dev post submission. We use a platform called dev post that looks like this, where this is how people are actually submitting their projects. I'll go into more of that in a little bit. So Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific time is where we have the final submission deadline. That's where all the code has to be submitted, dev post projects are submitted, and then we go into judging. So that's where you come in. We have 2 rounds of judging. Judging round 1 is like a project review, a lightweight project review. So you'll have a 4-minute video demo. You'll have README files in GitHub, and you'll have dev post projects to review. Spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes looking at these projects that are assigned to you and think about the projects that you have questions on. You'll see the judging criteria. Maybe they don't answer all the questions on the judging criteria, or maybe you're trying to judge, like, is this project maximizing these areas or minimizing these areas, not focusing on them. So you ask questions. Round 1 is all about reviewing and asking questions. Then we go to round 2. Round 2 is you review the answers to those questions, and then you make a final vote. So this allows students to sort of respond to you. Maybe they want to change a little bit of their GitHub. They can't change their dev post or the video, but maybe they want to give you more context. And so that's why we do 2 rounds when we do an online hackathon, is to give them enough time to get back to judges. So you're actually going to jump into their Slack channel and you'll ask questions there. They've been using Slack this whole summer, so they know how to use that, and they will respond to you then. So this is between Saturday and Sunday. Essentially, there's almost 24 hours gap. So review the projects as you wish, ask questions as you wish. Maybe you don't have questions, maybe you do. And then you'll do a final round of judging on Sunday. Then we're going to take a little bit of time to actually review the judging feedback and the scores, and then we'll announce winners on August 8th. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see these are the mentors that are sort of remaining, the slots that are remaining. You can see that all of you are here, represented here. If you need to change your application, go ahead and do that. It should reflect in a few minutes. It's cached. It should reflect in a few minutes after you do that. Really early on, we weren't accepting photos, and then later we've now changed it so we are accepting photos. So if you want to add a photo, cool. If you want to add your LinkedIn, that's also cool. And then down here are all the hackers who have been participating over the summer. And then finally, if you go all the way down, you should get an FAQ. So that's a quick walkthrough there. All right, let's pause and then we'll get into judging next. Okay, so this is the judging page, which you hopefully probably have already seen. It actually has this stage 1 and stage 2. We do this a little bit different when we're doing it online. We don't really have this phases as we do when we're in person. But what we do is we have this constant set of judging criteria. We've probably had the same criteria for almost 8 years now or so. We tweak it minimally over the years, but essentially it's these 4 areas: the scope of the solution, the documentation, the polish, and security. So if you mouse over, it'll tell you more about what we mean by polish, and each of them sort of has like 2 sub judging areas. So let's go a little bit into this, and then we can talk about how you might score projects. So scope of the solution really talks about the impact on the community. How many people and nonprofits are impacted by the solution that is provided to you? Is it just a solution for one single nonprofit? Is it maybe it's a solution for several nonprofits? Maybe there's a whole market here that the students have identified and they've designed the solution to help a broad swath of nonprofits. So if they are going above and beyond and they're not just focused on one nonprofit, then that would be significantly exceeding expectations. If the problem is also hard and there's really not a whole lot out in the market today, and if they present this to you and they say, hey, we're solving an underserved need, then that would also be significantly exceeding expectations. If there's some stuff in the market today, and if it's not super complex, then maybe that is meeting expectations. Every judge is going to have their own way of judging. All we ask is that you judge in a consistent way between round 1 and round 2. We don't really want to dictate specifics of how you do this. As long as you're consistent between the 2 rounds, that's all we ask for. Because at the end, the reason why we have a bunch of judges is so that we can look at the law of averages and we can get a consistent score amongst you all. Okay, so then documentation talks about how clear it is to use the solution. Is it a straightforward design? Will the nonprofit actually understand how to use it? If you think it's, really significant and they've done a good job of making their design straightforward and the documentation is amazing, then that's significantly exceeding expectations there. If it's, enough to understand it, but maybe it doesn't, maybe you have a bunch of questions, maybe it's not obvious how to use the system, maybe the documentation isn't like the best that you've seen, maybe you have a bunch of questions, could be meets, it could be fair, it could be below expectations there. Going on to polish, this is how much work is remaining almost. Like, can we ship this thing today? If we can actually use it today, then I would say it's almost like an exceeds. Like, this is over the course of a couple months, depending on the amount of time people had, they could have put a lot of time into this. So like what we expect is a single nonprofit to be able to use the product at the end of the summer. If it's easily to use, all the features are available, it's more than an MVP, then these would be significant above expectations. If it's like not deployed in the cloud, it can't be used right now, it's definitely not expectations, below expectations for that. And if you're seeing a really simple MVP, definitely not expectations. So you would go like fair or you do poor there. Security, every nonprofit doesn't really know how to secure their software. So we really want to make sure baseline expectations is to have some role-based security if needed. Maybe the solution doesn't need role-based security, which means like you don't need an admin or a volunteer or a specific role. So that one's sort of optional. If it's optional, then just leave this one right here as is. And then ideally, it's hard to gain access to the data that is maintained. So if they've got some security protocols in place, that's good. If they go above and beyond and they're, doing like some penetration testing or they're doing something that's making sure that things are secure, that would be above expectations. Depends on the product, but hopefully that gives you a sense. Okay, so what this means from here on out is when we hit the judging time. So when we actually go all the way back here, when we hit the time to actually do the judging, which We'll actually stop submissions hard on DevPost at 5 p.m. Pacific, Saturday, August 2nd, but then we go into judging right after that. So here is where we'll send you an email. You'll already see some of this today potentially as well, but we'll send you an email to give you a heads up that you'll go to ohack.dev/judge. When you go to ohack.dev/judge, you should see the Summer Volunteer Internship, and depending on where you're at in round 1 and round 2 judging, you'll see something that looks like this. So as a sample, I've added 3 teams. I've judged those 3 teams here, and I've got 1 team left because now we're in round 2 of judging. The way this will work is everything will show as 0% complete. We'll do round 1 of judging. We'll pick the top teams to advance to the round 2 of judging. So after your first glance at the projects, after you've already rated them, that'll be round 1. We take the top set of teams, could be a top 5 set of teams, and we'll put those into round 2. And you'll review the feedback that you've received from those teams, and that's how you'll make your rejudge. You'll rejudge, and that's how you make your final determination. We like to have a round 1 and a round 2 where we have, I think, almost 10, 12 teams now, and we make a determination of those 10 and 12 teams who goes into the final round, and that allows you as judges to now have all the judges focused on these final set of projects to make sure that we get the ordering of first, second, and third correct. So that's why we have round 1 and round 2. Round 1 will split judges into 2 separate groups. You'll judge those projects. We'll make sure that we take maybe like the top 5 teams, unless there's a couple teams on the bubble, we'll talk about it. And then we'll put those into round 2. By round 2, you'll have some feedback on the teams and you'll rejudge. And so that's why we have 2 rounds of judging. Okay, so you hit start judging here. When you hit start judging, you can see that I've already scored my first round of teams. To you, it'll look like very similar. So you'll hit review here, and you actually go in and you'll go to the GitHub repository. There should be a dev post link here. So you actually open these 2 up in a new tab. You go review them. For instance, like dev post might look like this. You go review their video. They might have some presentation. They'll have some documentation on their project. And then you go review their GitHub. Ideally, they've got a README that is not this, because this is the template README. And between the README, the code if you want to go into the code, and their video on DevPost and their DevPost documentation, you should have enough information to go back and actually start judging this project. So in my case, I'll judge these, randomly. And if I need some questions to understand the criteria, I'll click on the examples here, and I'll go through and I'll judge these however I want to judge them, and I'll add some feedback. So feedback here for us is super important. A lot of times in hackathons, we don't give feedback back to the teams like other hackathons. Opportunity Hack likes to give feedback to these teams because we're all about learning from this experience. So if you have feedback, we ask that you always have some sort of feedback. Please enter it right here. And then when you add that feedback, you'll hit submit score feedback, submit score, and that'll submit your scores. You'll do that for all of the teams in round 1, and then you won't see anything for round 2. We'll wait to see all of the scores. This is like the first blush scores from all the judges. You'll also have questions that you've sent to these teams over Slack, which you can actually ask right here when you hit this join neural nexus. That's the name of the team. You click this, it'll take you to Slack. Start asking your questions here. Then what we'll do is we'll review all of the first round scores. We'll pick a top set of teams that go into the second round. Ideally by then, which is a 24-hour time, the teams will have responded to you and you'll be able to judge round 2. If they haven't responded, then you sort of judge them the same way that you did in round 1. But same idea here, you review the same exact set of criteria. You might have additional feedback that's different from round 1 here, and that's it. That is your expectations as a judge. You will hit submit here and you'll hit submit score, and then it'll be up to us and the Opportunity Hack crew to figure out the top 3 teams, first, second, and third place, based on how you've judged these teams. So I hope this has been informative. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on Slack. We are here to answer any questions or thoughts you might have. Really appreciate you taking the time. Me, myself, I take the time out of my day job. I work at Meta in Reality Labs. We're doing cool AR, VR stuff. I take the time out of my day to do this because I feel like this is the best way to give back to the community and make sure that we're enriching people through learning and through building. And I just love this stuff so much. I've been doing this for almost 11 years now. So, really, thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks. See ya.